Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. We'll get to our news topics right after we hear from the SAF. Be right back right after this.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have vowed to take away your Second Amendment rights through gun bans, gun confiscation, and government regulations. Now, Joe Biden is no longer hiding his real intentions, and we need you to take action now.
Whether it's a 9mm pistol or whether it's a rifle is ridiculous. I'm continuing to push to eliminate the sale of those things. But
the Biden administration is coming after your right to own any gun. Joe Biden has already issued executive orders.
Welcome back. As you can see, Dan Waz is joining me today. He is our guest commentator today. Dan, just a couple of stories to cover today. It's a little bit of a slow news day, but the one story turns out is going to be a big story, I think, in my opinion at least. It is the almost opposite of the Kyle Rittenhouse story. Kyle Rittenhouse, I think we all knew from the very beginning, was absolutely a self-defense story. This young man was being chased down by a group and defended himself. This Ahmaud Arbery case, this is not the same thing. Jury came back today. I'll put the story up on the screen. All three defendants found guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery, and not all three were found guilty of the same charges, but all three were found guilty at some level of murder in the case. This case, the three basically tried to make a citizen's arrest, chase this person down, and then they claim self-defense when the person fought back. I haven't followed this as closely as I followed the Kyle Rittenhouse case because Rittenhouse was obviously self-defense. But man, I think the jury on this one, from what the research I've been able to do, my opinion, I think the jury made the right decision in this case too. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, from what I saw, it looked like they assumed a little bit too much, and they went after this guy. So yeah, I think they probably made the right choice here. The thing is, you know, we can be honest about this stuff because that guy probably didn't deserve to die. And when we see situations like this, that I think both these cases went right. Now, I don't know all the details, kind of like you, Paul. I don't know all the details about this particular one. I did watch the Rittenhouse one very carefully and closely, but from what I see, I think both decisions were probably accurate.
Yeah, we were already getting. I mean, we've been on the air a minute and a half. We're already getting people commenting, coming in. Rick's checking in from Dallas, and Mike checking in from Compton, California. And he also says, Mike says, both decisions went as they should. And he says, now we will see rioting in the streets. I don't think, it's unfortunate that we see any type of that happening, whether we're talking about Rittenhouse or Arbery. You know, it's really unfortunate that happens, simply because this is a deliberative process. We're supposed to have a justice system. Unfortunately, too often, it's a legal system, not a justice system. But I mean, in both these cases, the jury didn't just jump in and jump out and deliver fast verdicts. These were, a full day of deliberations plus. So hopefully the nation remains calm.
Yeah, there should be no complaints from the rioters, from the people who would be more likely to protest. There should be no complaints from them on either one of these cases.
Mm-hmm.
These cases went well. And you know what the thing is? If we pander to these people who are out there in the streets, kicking and screaming, trying to get verdicts to go in their favor by using nothing but sheer force, if we pander to them, and we have, that's the problem. So that's why they think they can do it again. And that's why they tried it in the Rittenhouse case. And I'm so thankful that the jury was strong and stuck to and made the right choice, made the right decision. Because we've pandered to them before, and that's what you get. It's like a little child if you keep allowing them to do the thing, whatever it is, writing on the wall with their crayons or whatever, if you don't show them that that was bad and that was something they can't do, and you let them continue to do it, they're going to keep doing it. And this is how you create just people who are irrational. So I'm glad these two cases went right. I think that if there's any rioting, we need to shut it down quick and let them know that we're not going to tolerate children in our streets destroying our cities. We're just not going to do it. And so,
yeah.
So
I want to get one more comment in here, and then I'm going to go off on a side tangent here about this first story. Charlie Chambers says the citizen's arrest, it's Oregon law, OGCA. I'm sure that means Oregon law. I don't know the abbreviation, but 17-4-60. Grounds for arrest has been repealed in Georgia, but legal at the time had they witnessed the crime. They did not. I'm going to say this. We are not the police, and I don't care if citizen's arrest is legal in wherever you're living or not. It's a stupid idea. You are not the police, even if you carry on yourself as part of your protection. You are not an officer of the law. Please, for the love of anything you believe in, do not ever try to make a citizen's arrest. Let a real police officer do it. If you've got a cell phone on you, take video, get all the evidence you can, but do not try to apprehend somebody yourself. Extremely bad idea. Let's see here. Yeah, Mike's there. He says, you're just asking for trouble. Absolutely, Mike. So let's see here.
Now let me just add to that a little. If you're defending yourself or your family or good people around you from a obvious violent attack, then I would say that's different.
Yeah, absolutely. In this case, though, the guy what they were saying they were trying to arrest him for, do a citizen's arrest for, was he was committing robberies in the area.
Right. And they didn't actually see anything. They just saw a guy jogging through the neighborhood who they thought looked suspicious. Yeah, that's obviously not enough. And you know what? The verdict shows it. So there should be no complaints on this one.
Yeah, there's from
the complaint department, which we're always worried about. What are they going to do now? What city are they going to destroy today?
Right.
So, those knuckleheads have no reason to complain.
Charlie Chambers says, I do not plan to do a citizen's arrest ever. It's mostly illegal in most states. Law enforcement is not my profession or hobby. I leave it to the experts. I'll be a good witness. There you go, Charlie. There you go, man. And then I've got one more that I want to get. And by the way, it's been, other than the Arbery case, it's been a really slow news day. We've only got one more news story we're going to cover, so we're really relying on your comments to kind of drive where we're going. And so we're 10 minutes into a 30-minute show. about 15 minutes of the show is going to be on you folks that are watching, so make sure you keep your comments coming. Our second story, Alabama lawmaker says he's got the votes for constitutional carry. This one is by Cam Edwards over at Bearing Arms. As Dan, as you and I were talking before the show, I think Ohio may actually beat Alabama to the punch. I think Ohio may get it by the end of this year, and Alabama's talking about getting it early next year.
Yeah, so what do we got? We've got Texas was 20, Tennessee 21, right?
I think we've got 21 right now. I did a count just before we went live, and we've got 21 right now.
So Alabama and Ohio, we'd be up to 23. We're almost half the country with constitutional carry. That's a good thing. You know, I would like to see it tip the scale.
Yeah, well, and Ohio, Ohio's a fairly populous state. I'm looking forward to where we get to the point where more than 50% of the population lives in a constitutional carry state.
Yeah.
I think where we're going to get real headway nationally.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. Texas is the most populous state that has it to this point. I think Texas is number 3 in the nation of populated states. New York and California are ahead of them.
And concealed carry is anywhere from, the last I checked, 5 to 11% of the population, depending on what state you're in, has a concealed carry. So, I mean, even if it's just 5% of the population, even if it's at the low end, probably like New York, California, or whatever, New York and California might actually be a little lower. I'd have to check. But even if you're at 5%, that's 1 in 20 people who are legal or licensed to carry. That means when you go in the grocery store, how many people are there usually in the grocery store? If there are 40 people, there's probably 2 of them in there that are carrying, and those are in the low numbers. You get up into states like Alabama. I think Alabama was about 11 to 15%. It was a high number. A high number of that population is, they carry, and when it's hard to even measure the states who have constitutional carry because there's no permit to measure it by. So in other words, many more people, a larger percentage could be carrying, and we don't know. So I think what happens here is that, there's a lot more gun owners and a lot more concealed carriers than people think. So this is a natural progression for these states to turn constitutional carry. To me, knowing what we know about firearms and knowing what we know, it's just a natural progression that more states would be embracing constitutional carry because that's what the people want.
I would tend to agree with you. I would say that if you're in a group of 40 people, even in South Dakota, if you're in a group of 40 people where more than 1 in 10 adults in South Dakota has a permit, even though they're no longer required, I'm going to say because most people who have a permit, you and I are the exceptions to the rule. We carry every day. But I think most people that have a permit don't carry every day, although they should.
You could be right. We don't know. I mean, I know a lot of concealed carriers. Most of them carry, but there are a few who don't. And so I don't know what that percentage is. On a regular. Some people are strange. They'll say, "Well, I carry when I think I need to." I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. When I leave the house, I make sure I have a few bucks in my pocket and my good charge on my cell phone and a 9mm in my belt. Stuff that can come in handy.
Hopefully something to launch at 9mm as well. I mean, the bullet's not going to do you any good unless you've got something that'll launch that bullet.
Oh, that's what I meant. The gun is fine over there. That's what I was referring to. Yeah,
All right.
I don't carry just bullets. I have to throw them pretty fast.
Exactly. Charlie says, let me get that right button over here. Louisiana will eventually get permitless carry. Governor just vetoed it, but it will happen. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. And then Mike White says, in California, I don't think we will ever have widespread concealed carry. Mike, I'm going to have you hold on till spring because I think in the spring what's going to happen is the Supreme Court is going to say that may issue concealed carry is unconstitutional, that all states have to go shall issue. Once that happens, then anybody that wants one that hasn't been convicted of a felony, that doesn't have a active, what am I trying to say? An active,
maybe a restraining order.
Restraining order, yes, can go to their, can go to their sheriff's office, and then the sheriff's office has to issue it as long as they've got a clean record. I think once that happens in California, concealed carry is going to virtually explode. In a lot of counties in California, it's virtually shall issue anyway.
Yeah, and let's not forget there's a big case right here in New York, New York State Rifle and Pistol, and this is all about that. It's all about the may issue versus the shall issue. So and the Supreme Court, this is a Supreme Court case, and the Supreme Court doesn't usually take these cases. So if we get this one right, it's going to set precedents at the state level for other states to do the same. So I think we're in a pretty good place here, especially now with the Rittenhouse case coming out the way it has. I think it's more, I guess, precedent, you could call it, to the fact that self-defense is a valid and important thing. Otherwise, if the Rittenhouse case went the other way, I think what would happen is the gun grabbers would be jumping on that and saying, see, nobody needs self-defense. Self-defense is dangerous, and they'd have their whole line of talking points. But because we want it in a way validates self-defense. Not that we needed to, but it doesn't hurt. So I think that case was good. New York State, if that case goes the way we want it, now we're setting state precedents, and I can see the states falling, bing, 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 all the way down. Everybody saying, hey, all the blue states that have a may issue saying, hey, we're not going to take this. We want shall issue. We want our Second Amendment right. And like we always say, Paul, I always tell you, we shouldn't even be talking about this because the Constitution says, Bill of Rights, Second Amendment says, shall not be infringed. All this stuff we talk about is one big fat infringement. But here we are. This is the landscape we're in. And so we talk about this stuff. So hopefully we can get it turned around.
And should the Supreme Court rule the way I think and hope they will, remember when they ruled the first time in Heller that that DC did go ahead and overturn their ban, but they had to be sued again for it to stick. I think New York will have some kind of shall issue, but licenses will be $15,850 every year or something to that. I mean, there's going to be some ridiculous thing, and we're going to have to sue them again. California is going to do something ridiculous. Hawaii is going to do something ridiculous. God knows New Jersey is going to do something ridiculous, and we'll have to sue them. The point is, we will have the leverage, and we can sue them into compliance.
Yeah, you're probably right. I was talking to somebody the other day about this same thing, and they said basically the same thing you said. Yeah, knowing New York Democrats, they'll have something up their sleeve, and they'll try to restrict, on city property, and technically the sidewalk is city property, and whatever. They'll have some new rule or regulation that they can squeeze into the the law or whatever. And so they'll always try to find a way, but we'll keep suing them. That's all right. We have Second Amendment Foundation, Gun Owners of America, NRA. We have groups that are fighting in court, specifically, Second Amendment Foundation. They're always in there fighting, and you gotta love that. These are the people we need to support, and I just hope everybody watching this will support, because it's the national organizations, gun rights organizations, but then also the state organizations that we also have to support them as well.
Yeah, and we've got 9 minutes left. I'm going to take a couple of those and plug my boss, Alan Gottlieb, the
great guy.
Yeah, he's the leader of the Second Amendment Foundation, and the reason it's important to be a member of the SAF, yes, we are the premier organization that sues both state and local and federal, all the above, state, local, federal governments into compliance and make them behave. There's nobody more successful than we are, including the NRA, in doing that. Nobody comes close to our track record. We've got over 50 active cases nationwide, and it grows by the week. I can't keep track of them all myself. It's really cheap to be a member of the for SAF membership. It's $150 for a lifetime membership, and what that gets you is a membership. A part of that money the majority of that money goes for these legal cases. It gets you ownership in taking it to New York City and making New York City issue permits. And so, let me get... Michael says, let me get this up here. Sorry. New York City is $360 for a 3 years restricted license fee. I want you to compare that with a free state. My home state is South Dakota. $10. First of all, it's zero because you don't need one. But if you want a concealed carry permit, it's $10 for 5 years.
Yeah, New York State overall is 5 years. So he might be right about that. New York City being 3 years. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt that New York City has their own 3 year. And just being a May issue is in New York City. You really can't get a carry permit in New York City because they just don't. They hardly issue them. You have to be connected. Upstate, other parts of New York State are a little different. We have a 2-tier system, which is a real drag. But the first tier is a restricted, and then you have a 1 year probation. You take more courses, and you get your unrestricted. And then you do have to renew every 5 years. So the 3 years might just be specific to New York City.
Well, and Dan, even if you get a upstate concealed carry permit or whatever they call it up there, if you get one and then you get the one after a year that's unrestricted, you still cannot go down to New York City and carry, right?
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. It's restricted down there. So that's what I mean. That's why I said even if New York State Rifle and Pistol wins this case, I'll bet you somehow New York City will work it into their city code that because the sidewalks are city property, you can't be on the sidewalk. Something crazy like that they will try. I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
Okay. In other words, okay, you can have your shall issue, but just like they did in my home city of Saratoga Springs, New York, the city council decided they didn't want the gun show coming to town anymore. And the gun show was at the city center, which is a huge place. And it was the only place the gun show could go. They decided they didn't want it, and Meg Kelly, the mayor, got together with her little council, and they decided they're going to change the city code to say no firearm or ammunition sales on city property. What does that do? That made the city center off limits. And that was the only place because of the size and the parking and everything. So the gun show got run out of town. So these scoundrel Democrats will find a way to do it.
Yeah. Mike says, good point, Mike. Mike White says, don't give them ideas. Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. I got to keep my mouth shut because you're right. I'll give them ideas.
Larry Benson says, what people need to know is every year Allen sponsors a free meeting with multiple major speakers in different parts of the country. Yeah, that's Gun Rights Policy Conference. The last 2 years it's been digital only because of the COVID thing, but the plan is for it to be in 2022 in person. Plans can change, but as of the last time I talked to everybody at headquarters, remember, I'm in South Dakota, they're in Washington. I do not speak to the home office every day. The last time I talked to them about Gun Rights Policy Conference, the plan was to have it in person in 2022 in some form. Yeah, and believe me, as soon as I know more, I will be shouting that from the rooftops. I look forward to that so much every year. I cannot I cannot tell you how much I get out of that every year. Yeah, Larry Benson.
The last 2 years were virtual, and the years before that, I did. Now I've done that event for now 4 years. I've spoke at that event. Mm-hmm. Chicago, Phoenix, and then 2 virtuals. It's a great time.
Larry Benson says, remember, sidewalks were built expecting people to jump off tall buildings and kill themselves. Otherwise, why have sidewalks? All right. All right. Well, I think we're good there, and we are, guess what, at the bottom of the hour. So, Dan, any parting shots? Anything you want to let people know on our way out, man?
Yeah, keep your eye on HR 4350, HR 2377. These are 2 national red flag laws. They're bills right now introduced, and I think 1 passed the House. Bad stuff. HR 4350 and HR 2377. Look them up. Call your representatives and tell them we can't have this. Bad stuff. Lack of due process. Gun confiscations at the federal level. So.
Yeah, I could do another half-hour show on why the red flag laws are a bad idea. But at any rate, Dan, if before we go out, tell everybody about the Loaded Mike Show and plug your book if you would, man.
Well, the Loaded Mike Show, loadedmic.com, M-I-C, loadedmic.com, mic like microphone. We got more interest from networks. We might be converting our show now into also a 1-hour radio show. Loadedmic.com. You got to check it out. We have a lot of fun, primarily Second Amendment stuff, but we also get into topics of the day, news of the day sort of stuff. So loadedmic.com. Me and my co-host John Chayer and my son Danny Wass Jr. produces the show, and it's just a lot of fun. GoodGunBadGuy.com. That's my book series, 3-book series, Good Gun Bad Guy. Many people watching this have heard of Good Gun Bad Guy. If you haven't got the books, get them now. A great time for Christmas. And GoodGunBadGuy.com. So that's where you can find me. Very cool. Again, thanks, Dan, for dropping by today. Folks, that's going to do it for the Daily Bullet for this week. We're going to take off tomorrow for Thanksgiving, and then I'm taking an extended weekend myself. We'll be back on Monday for more Daily Bullet. So have a great Thanksgiving day tomorrow. Enjoy your weekend.
Give family hugs, enjoy your time with family, and come join us back next week. Come join us Monday at 5 p.m. Central Time for more Daily Bullet. Thanks for joining us, everybody.